Warm welcome to Anurādhā Vedic Astrology. Today we are with Chandrasekhar Sharma ji again with a unique shloka which has a lot of meanings attached to it. Sir, a warm welcome to you, sir.
My pleasure.
Sir, so what is it that we are going to learn today and from which classical text, sir?
These days I am more interested in the Phaladipika of Mantreshwara because it is a bit complex to understand. And if it is complex to understand, then it must be having some meaning in it, isn't it? Now, this shloka is talking about, we always talk about yogas and we get obsessed with yogas, isn't it?
Right.
So we have to understand there are good yogas, there are bad yogas in every chart. I mean, whichever chart it might be, isn't it?
Right, sir.
And then when we talk about the strengths, so there are many ways of looking at strength, which is Vinshopaka Bala is one, another is whether it is in house of friend or enemy or exaltation or debility, etc. But the third factor which we generally forget is the Digbala, the directional strength of the planets. So what is this Digbala and how does it manifest and what is its importance? It has great importance because only having a yoga is not going to get you something. Unless, of course, you strive hard for it, you might get it. But where the yoga is happening and what is the strength of the planets involved. So one part is we look the strength from the Navamsha, there is no doubt about it. But ultimately, if we think about it and we look at the Shadvarga Bala and other things, we see that most of the marks are given to the Lagna, the Kshetra, the natal chart. So in natal chart, what is the placement of that planet? Does it have the strength enough to push you through? Maybe without efforts or with efforts. So this is generally, one forgets about it. And then one thinks that because there is a Raj Yoga, I will become a king. Nowadays, nobody wears a crown except the Queen of England, who doesn't have any authority in the governance. So we have to understand that see, Raj Yoga means power and wealth, correct. But that wealth you can also fritter away. So that yoga also will be there. Why? So what is the strength of the yoga? And this is what is being talked about. And this is very peculiar. It says, Dvauva Triadya, and 2 or 3, etc. Digbala Yukta Yadi Jataka. If 2 or 3 planets are possessed of directional strength, Shma Bhruvavshe Bhumipatihi Sya Jayashiva. He becomes, Shma is one of the names of the Mother Earth. That means the land. And always king is called as a Mahipati, the owner of the land. So this means if 2 or 3 planets are possessed of directional strength, and if the person is born in the the lineage of a king, then he will become a king. Which itself says that the another parameter, what is the position of the Jataka at the time of birth? If it is higher, it will need very less strength to go a bit higher. If it is lower, it needs much more than only 2 or 3 things with directional bala. That is what is being told, which is generally. Right. Now, the next part is also equally important, which always talks about what was the condition of the Jataka when he was born, or his family where he was born. He says, Hitva Mandam Panchakhaga Digbala Yuktos Chatvarova. He says, excluding Saturn, if 5 or 4 planets are possessed of the directional strength, Bhupatir Anyanvaya Jo Api, which means he will become king even if he is not, born in the family of kings, does not have a dynastic background. Even in justice system, there is a dynastic background. In politics, there is a dynastic background. So that is what is referred to in the first part of the shloka. We have the second says even without that, because here strength is more. Instead of 2 or 3, he is talking about barring Saturn, other 5 or 4 planets. So the number of planets
is increased.
The Digbala, the directional strength has increased. So the strength of the yoga is higher. So even at a lower level, if the Jataka was born, he can rise a much more higher than you expect. Right. Let me put it this way. That is why this is very important, shloka. which we must understand. And now he says 5 or 4 with Digbala. This is a tricky part of it.
Why not Saturn?
We know there are 7 planets, out of which Saturn is gone, isn't it? So 6 are left. Out of them, 5 or 4 appears to be extremely good. But think about it, that this can happen only in certain circumstances. See, Venus and Mercury, if they attend Digbala, then Sun will not have Digbala.
Yes. Yes.
So out of 6, 4 are gone.
Yes.
And vice versa. If Sun has Digbala, these guys cannot have
Digbala. Yes.
So he is trying to find out what is the intellect of the person reading the chart. That is why I love Mantreshwara many times, because he always gives something which is complex. And what could it mean? Ultimately, it has to mean something. And he is not an idiot. And Saturn with Digbala does have strength to give something. So he's taking him out very quietly. Let this guy be out. Out of these, see, Jupiter or Mercury can be in Lagna. There, that is where they get the Digbala.
Digbala. Yes.
So obviously, Sun has to be somewhere else. And Sun will not be possessed of Digbala at all. Which means that person would not have, the ego or the administrative ability to the extent that is desired, but he has something else.
Yes.
So Mars comes, then Moon comes. Moon can be Moon and Venus if they are in the 4th house. They are possessed of Digbala. Naturally, Sun cannot be in the square at that time. Neither can Mercury be in square at that time. Because Digbalas are, obtained in when they are placed in squares. And we know more than 28 degrees apart, Mercury cannot be from Sun, and more than 48 degrees, if I remember right, Venus cannot be apart from Sun.
Yes.
So this has to be understood in the right way. So what is he saying about? Why does he say this? It is something which we must think about. And so what can happen? Jupiter can be with Digbala, Mercury or Venus. Digbala. Mangal, Mars can be with Digbala, and Jupiter can be with Digbala. So 5 is out of question. It can only be 4 planets which can be Digbala family, because when Venus is in Digbala, Mercury cannot be in Digbala, and neither can be Sun. Same applies vice versa also.
So right.
So this has to be understood. So he is giving you some hint by saying about 2 and 3 planets, and then 5 and 4 planets. He is trying to tell the power of the yoga has to be pretty powerful for these things to happen. So what will actually happen is only 4. So because the moment Sun comes in, Venus and Mercury are gone. So out of the 6, 2 are gone. So there can only be 4. So this is what has to be understood. And so without saying this in specific words, what is being told here? What is the strength of the yoga? Where is it placed? And what is Digbala has to be thought about. See, Venus and Moon are connected with night. So when they are in 4th house, so you have to understand. Sun at 12 o'clock in the daytime is most powerful. So Digbala has many other
meanings,
connotations.
Yes.
And that is why I thought this shloka will be of use to astrologers. Many of whom read the text verbatim. So once you enter into Phaladipika, then you find he tells something, and then you think about it and you find, oh, this is not possible. So what is he saying? He is an acharya. He is not an ordinary person. See, Mantreshwara, Vaidyanath or Varamir, Parashara, of course, no doubt about it, or Jaimini, they are great people. So if they are saying something like this, you better try to understand. And the idea entirely is that it is not only the strength of the planet because of the Namash occupation or being placed in the Rashi of bosom friend or exaltation. This also becomes material. And that is what is being hinted at when he is talking about the 5. The 5th better be strong otherwise, is what he is saying when he says 5 or 4 planets. So if we go through it properly, think about it, we understand what is being said. At least that is how I understand. Of course, Other astrogrades might look at it in a different fashion, because this is a science where we had 18 pravartakas, not one or two, and they had differences of opinion, and they were all sages, not like me, who is a, an engineer.
So that's just one question.
So this is why I chose this shloka, to make people understand what should be the strength of the yoga, to actually get what is being said, and what weakness should not be there. You see, ultimately, because Saturn, you see, what is happening is, why he says no, not Saturn is not coming. Saturn gets Digbala in the seventh
house.
He aspects the fourth house and the Lagna.
Yes.
So sometimes very cautious and not much happiness. Of course, it can always be converted by he's trying to travel a lot and other things. But that is why he says, okay, let me give them this much and let them understand first.
Right.
Anybody reading Mantreshwara's Phalanipika will always be confused. And I also used to be confused. Even now I am confused in certain parts. But I have started thinking about what is he saying. He cannot be wrong. There is something we are missing.
More, yes.
He talks about Chandrakriya and Chandravastha and other things. So you rarely find it mentioned anywhere else. Or in 16 point, the Shodasha Varga, as we call it. He talks only about 10 Vargas. He doesn't go to the other 6 Vargas. So why? It's something we must understand. And this is why I am saying, because those who really want to go deeper into astrology, I think they should try to understand this.
Yes.
Conclusion, and that's it.
Sir, Phalanipika is one of my favorite books because it has a lot to offer. And as you said, a very beautiful point that came out in the end, that you said that Saturn, if it is Digbali, it is also aspecting the Lagna and the fourth house, where there are already two Digbali planets sitting. So there it can cause certain amount of diminishing in their value.
Absolutely.
Beautiful that Manteshwar Rishi just leaves a clue for us to work out on. And sir, Digbala is basically something that we don't give it so much of value. But as I find it, that even when we are doing the analysis and the Dasha system, they do make their presence felt in the Dasha.
Absolutely. Because see, ultimately, they are all Digbalis in Kendras, and Kendras has the energy.
Yes, sir.
So this is, I thought this would be a good shloka for those desirous of learning astrology from a different perspective. Let us put it this way.
Beautiful, sir. Thank you.
Even the greats say that it's difficult to understand Phalanipika for this reason. Not because it is difficult to understand. Verbatim, it is easy to understand.
But it has a lot of different, yes.
I think this is it.
Thank you so much for the beautiful shloka, sir.
My pleasure.